The mail-order bride never came, so the cowboy followed the wrecked wagon and found a fate he never expected. The wind howled across the Wyoming plains like a restless spirit, sweeping dust and dry grass against the weathered walls of a lonely ranch house. Miles from the nearest town, Elijah Boone stood on his porch, hat pulled low, eyes fixed on the empty horizon. She was supposed to arrive today, by noon, by sundown at the latest, but the road remained empty. Elijah checked the pocket watch his father had carried before him. The hands ticked forward with cruel indifference. Every minute that passed tightened the knot in his chest. The mail-order agency had promised her arrival, safe passage by wagon from Cheyenne, escorted and scheduled. He had paid nearly all his savings for that promise. Not just money, but hope. Hope for a family. Hope for laughter in a house that had known only silence. Hope for a future beyond endless work and lonely nights. Elijah Boone wasn't a desperate man by nature. He was steady, hard-working, honest. But 3 winters alone had taught him something bitter. Some burdens were too heavy to carry alone. So when the letter came, written in careful handwriting, he allowed himself to believe. Her name was Clara Whitmore. She wrote of hardship back east, of losing her parents young, of a quiet strength and a willingness to build a life on the frontier. Her words were simple, sincere, and warm. She never promised romance, only partnership. That was enough. But now the sun was slipping low, bleeding orange and red across the sky, and the road was still empty. Elijah felt it then. Something was wrong. A decision made it dusk. By nightfall, worry hardened into resolve. Elijah saddled his horse, Jonah, without hesitation. He packed water, jerky, a lantern, and his rifle. Not for trouble, but for protection. The plains were unforgiving after dark. If Clara hadn't arrived, there was only one explanation. She never made it. The road from Cheyenne was rough, especially after the recent storms. Rivers swelled, paths washed out, wagons overturned, and sometimes people vanished. Elijah tipped his hat to the house as he rode out, as if promising it, and himself, that he would return. The moon rose, pale and thin, as he followed the wagon trail eastward, eyes scanning the ground for signs, broken tracks, scattered debris, anything out of place. Hours passed. Then Jonah snorted sharply and slowed. Elijah saw it. A wheel. Splintered wood half buried in mud. He dismounted, heart pounding, and raised the lantern. The lantern's light revealed signs of struggle, not violence, but survival. Drag marks, footprints leading away from the wreck. Someone had survived. He followed the trail on foot, leading Jonah slowly behind him. It took him nearly half an hour before he saw it. A small shape near the creek. A body. Elijah dropped to his knees beside her. She was alive. Barely. Clara Whitmore. Clara lay half covered by a torn blanket, her face pale, lips cracked, eyes fluttering weakly at the sound of his voice. One arm was badly bruised, her ankle swollen, likely broken. She had crawled as far as she could, and then she had waited. "Elijah," he whispered, though she couldn't hear him clearly. "I'm here. You're safe now." He wrapped her carefully in his coat, lifting her gently despite the pain twisting his own muscles. She stirred, eyes opening just enough to see him. "You came," she murmured. The words hit him harder than any blow. "Yes," he said, rough. "I promised." The long ride home. The journey was slow and agonizing. Elijah fashioned a stretcher from spare canvas and branches, securing Clara so she wouldn't worsen her injuries. He spoke to her constantly, even when she drifted in and out of consciousness. About the ranch, about Jonah, about the way the stars looked from his porch. It was his way of keeping her tethered to life. By dawn, they reached the ranch. Elijah carried her inside, laying her on his own bed. He boiled water, cleaned her wounds, and did the best he could with splints and bandages. He had no medical training, but he had determination. For 3 days, he barely slept. He fed her broth by spoon, changed bandages, sat by the bed through fevered nights, fearing every shallow breath might be her last. But Clara was stronger than she looked. On the 4th morning, she opened her eyes fully and smiled. Strangers under one roof. Recovery took weeks. Clara's ankle healed slowly, leaving her confined to the house. At first, conversation was awkward, two strangers bound by circumstance and a promise made on paper. But slowly, walls came down. She told him about her life back east, working as a seamstress, caring for her younger siblings until illness took them one by one, about answering the advertisement, not out of romance, but necessity. I wasn't running to something. I was running from nothing, she admitted one evening. Elijah understood that kind of emptiness. He told her about losing his parents to a winter fever, about taking over the ranch too young, about the silence that followed. They shared meals. Laughter came cautiously at first, then more freely. Something gentle grew between them. Not obligation, not gratitude, but respect. When Clara could finally walk again, the question lingered unspoken between them. The agreement, the marriage. She approached him one afternoon as he repaired a fence. "Elijah," she said softly, "I need to know, after everything, do you still want this?" He leaned against the post, meeting her eyes. "I don't want a contract. I want a partner who chooses to stay." She swallowed, emotion flickering across her face. "I didn't survive that wreck just to be passed along again." "Then stay," he said simply. "Not because you owe me, because you want to." She smiled. "I do." A wedding without witnesses. They married quietly that spring. No preacher, no crowd, just vows, spoken beneath a wide Wyoming sky. Jonah grazing nearby, the house behind them, no longer lonely. Their life wasn't easy. There were droughts, lost cattle, long winters. But there was warmth, there was purpose, and there was love that grew not from fantasy, but from survival, patience, and choice. Years later, travelers would pass the Boone Ranch and hear the story whispered in town. About the cowboy who refused to accept an empty road, about the wagon wreck that should have ended a life, but instead began one. About a bride who never arrived, yet found exactly where she belonged. Sometimes, fate doesn't come knocking at your door. Sometimes, you have to saddle your horse and go looking for it.